All right, folks, welcome in. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. We are doing JE Live today, a special edition for the Rams 53-man roster. The cuts just came in, so I'm going to read off of the names. I'm going to give you my thoughts, but waive no recall. The Rams have waived A.J. Arcuri, Wyatt Bowles, True Edwards, Jack Heflin, Tanner Ingle, Darion Kendrick, Cam Lampkin, Dylan McMahon, Jamil Muhammad, Elias Neal, Bill Norton, Chris Paul Jr., Brennan Presley, Ronnie Rivers, Cody Schrader, Nate Valcarcel, Charles Woods, Britton Covey, Brennan Jackson, Mark Redman, Drake Stoops, Jordan Waters, waived injured, Willie Lampkin IV, and Sean Jolly, terminated vested veteran, all contracts, AJ Green. So a lot of cuts. Obviously, we're going to try and break this down. It's not as simple as, just doing all of that when that's all you have, right? So we're going to try and break this thing down. So looking at the unofficial depth chart, players that made the team, they kept 3 quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford, Jimmy Garoppolo, Stetson Bennett. They kept 3 running backs, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, Jarquez Hunter. I don't believe I said Jordan Waters. I said Jordan Waters, right? Yes, I did. Okay. He's listed as a wide receiver for some reason, so that's a typo by the Rams. Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, Devontae Adams, Jordan Whittington, Kanate Mumfield, Xavier Smith. The rest were cut. So I did think there was a chance Brennan Presley would be kept the way they were talking about him, but it appears he was cut. Alec Jackson, Steve Avila, Coleman Shelton, Kevin Dotson, Rob Havenstein, your starting 5. DJ Humphries, Justin Diedick, I did not see on there. It did not appear Justin Diedick was on there, so he has made the team. Bo Limmer, McMahon was cut. McClendon, they traded KT Leveston today for to the Browns. I'll get into all my thoughts on that. And then David Questenberry. So the Rams are keeping 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 6 wide receivers. The offensive line consists of, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 offensive linemen. Every tight end was kept except for Mark Redman, so they keep 4 tight ends. And then the defense, they kept Byron Young, Josiah Stewart, Jared Verse, and Nick Hampton. They cut Brennan Jackson and Jamil Muhammad. Inside linebackers, they kept Omar Spates, Nate Landman, Troy Reeder, Sean Dolak. So Sean Dolak has made the Rams 53. They cut Chris Paul. I'm going to explain my thoughts on that. I think it's absolutely stupid, but we'll get into that. Tony Fields was cut before this, so he's gone, and then Elias Neal was cut. So they kept 4 inside linebackers. Corners, they kept Akello, they cut Darion Kendrick, Akello, and Emmanuel. Akello, Witherspoon, and Emmanuel Forbes are going to be your starting corners. They kept Kobe Durant, Darius Williams, and that's it. And then at safety, they ended up keeping Quentin Lake, Cam Curl, Cameron Kinchins, Jalen McCullough, and Josh Wallace. Really tough cut down. Really tough. So it looks like they kept Desjuan Johnson too. So the defensive line, they kept Desjuan Johnson. And they also kept Murchison. So they kept 7 defensive linemen. This is where the roster math kind of kicks in. Okay. So they kept 7 defensive linemen. They kept 4 edge defenders. They kept 4 inside backers, 4 corners, 5 safeties. They kept 10 offensive linemen, 6 wide receivers, 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 4 tight ends. So it's an interesting, it's definitely an interesting roster construction. And I know you guys are definitely going to want to get to the point where we talk about Chris Paul Jr. So let's start with the defense, because I'm going to give you my thoughts. I'm going to give you my intel, what I'm hearing about this team. So starting off, in the DB room. We'll go down, right? Start with the defense. In the DB room, we're going to see, because the Rams, they see 4 starting corners and they see 5 starting safeties. That's what they see. They think Jalen McCullough could start. They are really high on Josh Wallace, his versatility. He's going to be in the star role, rotating with Quentin Lake. They see every one of those corners can start. Akello, obviously, he'll be CB1. CB2 is going to be Emmanuel Forbes Jr. CB3 is going to be Darian. I keep saying his name and he got cut. Kobe Durant. And CB4 is Darius Williams. Now, understand this. They're going to rotate. There's going to be a lot of rotation. And the reason is because they feel they're very deep. And I'm going to turn on a fan because it is 120 degrees in here. I don't know that for sure, but it feels that way. So 1 sec. There we go. I like my fan right by my feet because it cools me down because I'm all this light and everything. It gets to be a lot. But anyway, so Akello and Emmanuel Forbes Jr. are starting. Rotating in, Kobe Durant, Darius Williams, and then rotating in the star role, you're going to have Quentin Lake and you're going to have Josh Wallace. We're going to still see plenty of Jalen McCullough. He's supposed to have a big role this year. Cam Kinchens is going to have a role, obviously. Cam Curl's going to have a role. So right now, they absolutely could not be happier with their defensive back room. Okay. And I agree. I would have loved to see them keep AJ Green. It seemed like he banged up his knee. That's what I was hearing. So it's not a shock that he was cut after that. So he's probably going to be brought back. I think with that injury, I think it'll be easier to retain. So they had to terminate the vested contract because he's a veteran, but he can come back. I think he's on the practice squad. And we'll get into that. Well, I'll make my 16-man practice squad on the fly. Okay. Inside linebackers, the moment you guys have been waiting for. Everybody has DM'd me. I was at a Falling in Reverse show. It was fantastic yesterday in New Hampshire. That's why I have no voice. Also drove a total of 8+ hours. So, I'm exhausted. But I'll tell you right now, everybody was DMing me, commenting on my stuff about Chris Paul. I didn't comment on it because I wanted to know it for sure before I said anything. And yeah, it's now we know it's true. Chris Paul Jr. was cut. I'm not going to hide from the fact that I had him as the 29th overall player in this draft. I think this is an incredibly stupid thing to do. I'm going to explain as to why in a sec. But I also wanted to say that I'm not going to just back down from my evaluation. I know the Rams do a great job, and I agree with a lot of what they do. I also think they make stupid moves here and there. I said I didn't think they got enough for Ernest Jones. I hated when they cut John Franklin Myers in the preseason after he sacked Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, after he was the rookie of the year for the Rams. I hated that. I think my issue is that there's going to be disagreements, and I get that, but we have to also understand there are people out there that might know that they're right about something, right? And so even though these are the professionals, it doesn't mean you don't have smart people out there who are like, hey, maybe this is a bad move. This could blow up in the Rams' face. It absolutely could. Ernest Jones is now playing for their division rival. Like, I don't miss Ernest Jones. It's nothing against him. I love the linebacker room. But, I think keeping Troy Reeder over him is an absolute colossal mistake. I like Troy Reeder a lot more than other people do, but Troy Reeder is a depth guy. He is a guy, a veteran presence that you should have signed to the practice squad, would have easily been able to transfer to the practice squad. He knows your defense. You could start him, 3 games in a row. I just don't think it makes any sense to cut a guy who was drafted in the 5th round this year, who is well-known, who had a lot of interest in the draft, and who is not going to make it through waivers, to keep Troy Reeder. I just don't agree with that. I absolutely love that they got Sean Dolak. That's another guy I kept mocking to the Rams. I thought Sean Dolak was a perfect fit. I had a 3rd-round grade on him. He ends up going undrafted. I think they absolutely nailed it on Dolak, but I think they absolutely whiffed on Chris Paul Jr. And not whiffed on drafting him. I think they whiffed on this decision. I think this is a bad move. I do. Troy Reeder is making about as much as Tony Fields was making when they cut him. Okay. Troy Reeder is on a 1-year deal. So is Nate Landman, who, by the way, I think is going to have a huge year. Well, guess what? When Nate Landman has a huge year, you're not bringing him back. This team doesn't pay linebackers. So now you have 2 of the 4 linebackers that are on expiring deals. And you have 22-year-old Chris Paul Jr., who was, just like Dolak, you have 4 years of. I think it's a colossal mistake. I do. I absolutely do. I understand, that they see these guys more than we do. I get that. This is just bad value. This is just bad value. Simply put, it's just bad value. If you were worried about anybody picking up Troy Reeder, then you're worried about the wrong things. Chris Paul Jr. should have been on this roster. They should have kept 5 linebackers. They should have kept 5 linebackers over keeping 7 defensive linemen, personally. That's just my take. But be that as it may, this is what happened. Now we hope that he can clear waivers. He's not going to. I'm not going to get my hopes up. He's gone. Wouldn't be surprised if the Niners pick him up. Wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks pick him up. Always assume when you cut a guy, he's going to your rival. Always assume. And if you're sitting there with the decision, like, would you be okay if he ended up being something with the 49ers, Cardinals, or Seahawks, and you say yeah, then okay, fine. But if you're not okay with that, you shouldn't cut him. And I think this is stupid. I really do. And I understand how it looks. In a way, it makes the Rams roster look stronger. You just cut a draft pick. But I think this is really stupid. I'm going to go on record saying I think this is probably the dumbest move they've made, in the cut down day since John Franklin Myers. Because I think the John Franklin Myers move was dumb. They tried to tell us that Tanzel Smart was better. They tried to sell to us that Tanzel Smart was the better option. They had no idea what they were doing. None. Again, love the organization, love the team. I think they do a great job. I think they're one of the best, most well-run organizations in the league. But just like anybody, you have a really awesome friend out there. Doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that they're perfect, right? Sometimes a friend lets you down, right? Well, sometimes the Rams let you down. And the reality is, I think this is just John Franklin Myers all over again. You got, and actually it's not, because John Franklin Myers actually played a full season. They saw what he could do. He won Rookie of the Year with the team, and then they cut him, and whatever. New defensive line coach didn't like him or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Hardworking dude, really smart, conscientious, exactly what the Rams look for. I have no idea why you would cut this guy. I just don't have a single clue. And I understand, okay, Super Bowl roster, you want to have your vets. I get that. But again, you could have brought him back a lot easier if you just kept him on the 53. You had Troy Reeder play out the first 3 games, elevated him from the practice squad. Then when you had to sign Troy Reeder to the active roster, then you cut Chris Paul Jr. You know why? Because if you cut Chris Paul Jr. after week 3, he's more likely, if he didn't play at all, he's more likely to be added to the roster than if you cut him now. Now teams are like, keep this in mind. It wasn't that long ago all these teams were scouting this player. They know this guy. So I think it's stupid. I absolutely hate it. It's one of my least favorite moves that they've made. And I absolutely love the draft pick too. Just not a fan of it. And not for Troy Reeder. And not for keeping 7 defensive linemen. I think both, I really disagree with that. So aside from that, Omar Speights, Nate Landman, Sean Dolak, I feel really good about. Troy Reeder is just, again, I don't know. It kind of doesn't make any sense if you're asking me. I don't understand why they would do that. Because again, I'm a big fan of value, and the Rams are too. It's why F them picks work so well, because they're good at getting those value guys. They got another guy, he fell to them, and then they cut him. I just think it's stupid. So I won't harp on it too much, but you get the gist. Outside linebacker, they kept 4. They cut Brennan Jackson. I think Brennan Jackson is more likely to make it through waivers. And the reason I believe that is because he was drafted last year, did not really play much at all. He had a really good preseason. He had a lot of sacks in preseason, but I still think he could make it through. Was another 5th round draft pick. The old saying is like, your roster is really good when you start cutting draft picks. But it kind of felt like this was, I feel like they're getting cute with the cutting of him and Chris Paul Jr. Anyway, it was a tough roster to crack. I'm not going to say here was it. I don't really get the obsession with Dick Hampton. I don't think he's a bad player, but I think they honestly, if Brennan Jackson wasn't good enough to make the team, then they should have just kept 3 outside linebackers and just claimed some guys. Because I actually don't like their outside linebacker room outside of the top 3. Because there's only one more guy, and I just don't feel like there's a lot of depth there. Jamil Muhammad was cut. I think he is more intriguing, to be honest with you. So we'll see what ends up happening with him. Brennan Jackson, I do expect him to make it onto the practice squad. Chris Paul Jr., I expect him to go to like the 49ers. You heard it here first. The defensive line. So looking at the defensive line, they kept 7. I just think this is just a wild decision. I do. Braden Fisk, Poona Ford, Kobe Turner, Laryl Murchison, Ty Hamilton, Ty Davis, and Desjuan Johnson. Now, I personally love keeping Desjuan Johnson. I think his toolbox just continues to be added onto. I think his pass rush repertoire has just really improved. I think he's a good player in the run. I think he could be a future starter down the line. I love Desjuan Johnson, so I'm happy he's back with the team. Laryl Murchison, I like him. It's another one of those, you could have put him on the practice squad type deals. They recently, within the last few years, they expanded the practice squad where you could have veteran players on there. I would have used that, especially in this type of roster where you're like, it's going to be a tough cut. That's great. Then take advantage of that. Take veterans, cut them. They're now free agents. They don't have to clear waivers, and then you sign them to your practice squad. I'm sorry, I don't want to hear anybody tell me Troy Reeder would have been picked up immediately and added onto a 53, because I don't believe you. I don't think he's a bad player, but I think it's one of the cases where like you have a player that's on a 53 because of the familiarity factor and just how much they understand the defense and the culture and everything. These players exist. Like, there are players around the league, on the Chiefs, on the Eagles, where you're like, they wouldn't be on any other roster. Like, there are players like that are around the league where it's just like, yeah, he's on the Rams, but like, if the Rams got rid of him, would anybody go after Troy Reeder? I don't think so. So, and again, I like him. I don't hate him like a lot of the fan base does, but I'm just trying to be honest here. Jack Heflin was cut. I do believe he's going to be on the practice squad. Had a really good preseason. Really liked what I saw out of him. But I mean, I could see Dejoun Terry getting added to the practice squad. Bill Norton as well had a good one. So yeah, I think the defensive line, what are they telling us, right? I understand only keeping 4 inside linebackers because they're going to be running a lot of dime and nickel, and I get that. You're only going to have 1 inside linebacker on the field at in those moments. And I understand only keeping 4 corners because, like I said, you have the losing my voice here. You have the versatility of the safeties, right? You have a versatility of a guy that can play. Quentin Lake can play the star. He can play safety. Josh Wallace can play the star. He can play safety, right? So you have the versatility there. I get that. Defensive line, they're telling us something here. By keeping 7 interior defensive linemen, they're telling us there's going to be a significant rotation. There's going to be a lot of movement here. You don't keep 7 defensive linemen just for talent, right? You keep 7 defensive linemen when you know you're going to need 7 defensive linemen. So there's going to be a lot of moving in and out. It's probably, a crusade to keep themselves fresh, and looking at, hey, how can we essentially dodge what we went through last year with the Eagles, right? How can we make sure our guys are ready to go and, they're essentially fully good to go and everything, and they get their rest and all of that, and they're not gassed against a really good, running team, right? So that's the thing. A run game can really kill you, and we saw that with Saquon Barkley. The best course of action is when you have guys that are fresh on the field, and that's the thing. I think the Rams are going to be rotating in and out to combat that. That's why you keep 7 defensive linemen. So that's the defense there. I don't have to say anything about special teams. We already know what that's going to be. So let's look at the offense here. Let's start with the offensive line. They kept 10 offensive linemen. They kept their starting 5, obviously. Alaric Jackson's going to play week 1, it sounds like. Great news there. Jackson, Avila, Shelton, Dotson, and Havenstein are your starting your starting 5. Then you have DJ Humphries, Justin Diedick, Bo Limmer, Warren McClendon Jr., and David Questenberry. They traded away KT Leveston Jr. To the Browns. I want to just comment on that, okay? I personally hate this trade. I understand he probably wouldn't have made the roster, and this is just my preference. I'm not saying I'm right on this. This is just me personally. I hate the idea of making teams better, bailing them out. The Browns are not a good organization. They kept 4 quarterbacks and had to trade Kenny Pickett right before the season started. They're horribly run, and you only got a 2028 7th rounder. Okay, I think I would have just rather had you cut him. I don't even care about the 2028 7th rounder. It's not serious. Again, I love what the Rams do. I do not like the trade returns ever. I feel like if the Eagles had KT Leveston, they would have somehow been able to get that in 2027, or they would have gotten a higher pick. It just feels like for whatever reason the Rams just kind of go to teams and they're like, "Hey, what do you want to give for this?" It's never like, "All right, so we're shopping this. We're looking for this. Can you offer this?" It's more so like an open thing. And I don't know that for sure, but that's how it feels. So I've never been a huge fan about that, right? Not a huge fan about that trade at all. And I think KT Leveston, I get it, probably wasn't going to make it through the cut. Maybe he would have. I would have rather run the risk of, him not making it through the final cut and getting claimed than getting a 2028 7th. I just don't think that moves the needle at all. Doesn't move me 1 millimeter. And I just, that's how I feel. And do I prefer nothing in return? No, I prefer trying to see if he would make it through waivers. There's no way to know he would have because, in hindsight, you can look at, well, the Browns traded for him, so they probably would have claimed him. Yeah, but there's going to be other offensive linemen that get cut that they might like and they might try to claim. So there's no way to know for sure that he wouldn't have made it through. I don't like that at all. All right, so we move on to the rest of the offensive line, though, right? So Alaric Jackson, great news. He's going to play. Hopefully he stays healthy. DJ Humphries, David Questenberry, Warren McClendon Jr., some good depth there at tackle. Steve Avila needs to get back to where he was. He had, injury plagued season last year, was really good his rookie year. We need to see him look like he was his rookie year, or, we'll see what ends up happening there. Coleman Shelton, your starting center. Obviously last year, in a way it was like an indirect trade, with him and Jonah Jackson. Well, they did trade Jonah Jackson, the Bears, but then they ended up signing Coleman Shelton. Really, the reality is this. There's always been kind of this saying where, it's okay to have a backup plan, but you never want to fall into your backup plan. And the Rams did that last year in a different way. They had a backup plan in case they lost Kevin Dotson. They signed Jonah Jackson because they fell in love with him so much that they got them both. And what ends up happening is Steve Avila is supposed to play center, so it sounds great in hindsight, but then all of a sudden they start backing away from Steve Avila playing center. They don't go all in. They start telling you, he's not a center anymore. He's going to be a guard. So we're going to move Jonah Jackson to center. And they tell us that like a month before the season, not even like a week before the season. Doesn't work out. A lot of injuries. Safe to say they probably should have just run with Coleman Shelton. That's probably what they should have done. Or they should have just gone all in on Steve Avila being the center. So, that's that. Kevin Dotson, obviously one of the better guards in football at right guard. Rob Havenstein at right tackle. They're really high on Warren McClendon Jr., just how smart he is, the versatility. They really like him. Bo Limmer, of course, makes the team. Justin Diedick makes the team. He played some meaningful snaps last year, so not really a shock. DJ Humphries is going to make this team. It was not a surprise because, honestly, I thought he would start the first 4 games of the year. This is really good news. Alaric Jackson's going to be good to go. And if, God forbid something happens, that's why they signed Humphries. David Questenberry had himself a fantastic preseason, looked really good. So that makes sense. Willie Lampkin IV, we'll see what ends up happening with him. He was waived injured. There's still a team, and I mentioned this to you guys Tyler Gaffney, I'll never forget it. Carolina running back, drafted him, tears his ACL, puts him, waves him injured, puts him on the IR, or so they thought. Turns out the New England Patriots claim him, and they keep him on their IR. Yeah. So that's a thing. So you gotta work. You always have to worry about that, because what can happen, and I'm not saying it will, but what could happen is the team was like, hey, Willie Lampkin IV looks so good, by the way, that we're going to claim this guy injured. And we're going to place him on the 53. He's going to be there for 1 day, and then we're going to put him on our IR. That's why I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I don't like cutting Willie Lamp. I don't at all, actually. I think they should just put him on IR, designate him to return after 4 weeks. I think this is a mistake to waive him injured, but it is what it is. If he does claim clear waivers, he'll be back on the IR, and there's a good chance that he could see playing time this year, to be fair. So there's that. What was I going to say? Okay, so that's the offensive line, right? Then you look at the tight ends. They kept 4 of them. They cut Mark Redmond. If they like Redmond enough, he'll be on the practice squad. He showed some good things, so I wouldn't be surprised they kept him. Wide receiver was interesting. I kept going back and forth with 5, 6, and then I even settled on 7 at the very end because I thought Presley would be kept. He did not get kept. He was not kept. So Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, your starting 3. Jordan Whittington. Then you have Xavier Smith. Then you have Kanate Mumfield. Okay. Brennan Presley could get claimed here. He's a very good player. What he was doing with not a lot at that position really goes to show you something. It's not like he had Matthew Stafford throwing the football. He looked kind of like a Brandon Powell, but I thought he offered more. And I could easily see him being claimed and added onto a 53. I'm really bummed about that, because I like him, but I'm not expecting him to come back. I think with the practice squad, I think you could look at a guy like Drake Stoops, True Edwards, guys like that. They're guys to keep an eye on. They might be on the practice squad. We'll see. They are the Rams, so their teams, they have this team on their radar. That's just the reality of it. Then, kind of going back there, the offensive line, I didn't really say it, but Wyatt Bowles, I'm 100% expecting them to keep him on the practice squad. He's likely going to clear waivers. Aside from that, I'm not really a huge fan of the offensive line. Really just Wyatt Bowles. Leveston's gone, so as much as I like the 10 that they kept, I feel like a lot of that depth is gone. So maybe Trey Wettig, who was cut in the first round, we'll see, but there's that. Then running backs, I expect them to keep, maybe 2 running backs on the practice squad. You got Kyron, Blake, and then, of course, Jarquez. But Ronnie Rivers cut, Cody Schrader cut, Jordan Waters cut. I would expect Cody Schrader and Jordan Waters to be guys that they try to keep on the practice squad. Ronnie Rivers could be added to their IR. I'm not really sure how that's going to go, but I know he was banged up. So there's that. But that's the roster, right? So it will be very interesting how they go about things. I think AJ Green's a guy that they're going to want to have back on the practice squad. Let's make a 16-man right off the rip right now. All right, let's start. Number 1, I'm going to go, we'll start with running back. I'm going to go Cody Schrader. I think he's going to clear waivers. Number 2, I'm going to go with Jordan Waters. Number 3, I'm going to go with True Edwards, the wide receiver. Number 4, I'm going to go with Brennan Presley if he clears waivers. But I'm not going to go with Brennan Presley because I don't think he's going to clear waivers. So I'll say number 4 is Drake Stoops. Number 5 is Mark Redmond, the tight end. Number 6 is Wyatt Bowles. Number 7 is Trey Wettig. I kind of feel like they're going to keep AJ Arcuri for some reason. So number 8 is AJ Arcuri. Number 9 is Heflin, the defensive lineman. Number 10 is Elias Neal, the linebacker. Outside linebacker, Jamil Muhammad, 11. I'm going to say 12 is, 12, I'm going to go with Charles Woods. 13, I'm going to go with Cam Lampkin. 14, I'm going to go with Tanner Engel. 15, Give me Val Carcel. And then 16, I'll say Brennan Jackson. I do think he makes it through waivers. That will be their practice squad. So, yeah, it's a really good roster. I just don't agree with waiving Willie Lampkin injured, and it could work out, but I would have just put him on IR. I don't see why they couldn't do that, because now I don't even think he can return. Maybe he can. I think they have to designate him to return before the season. So I don't know about that. AJ Green, actually, I think they'll keep AJ Green over Cam Lampkin. So I'll say AJ Green on the practice squad. But there's a lot of talent here. Chris Paul Jr. is not making it. I'm sorry. I don't buy it for a second. I'll be happy if I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think Chris Paul Jr. has a chance in hell of clearing waivers. I don't. He's going to be one of the better players on waivers, truthfully. But let's get to some super chats here. Yeah, Vic, thank you for the 2. I do think he's in for a big year. From what it sounds like, they want him to start with Akello. I think he's in for a big year. I really do. If you're an Emmanuel Forbes Jr. fan like I am, you're really going to be excited to see him for sure. I mean, you're going to see number 25 on the outside with number 4 to start the season. So it's exciting, man. He's earned it. He's done a really nice job, and I think this is another guy that, like, when I make videos about going after and claiming guys that get cut, I'm not just making a video to fill time. I'm not just making a video to waste your time. I'm not just making a video to make money. I'm making a video that I believe in. And when he became available, even before he came available, I said we should trade for him. I said the Rams should trade for him. And, he becomes available, and I'm like, no doubt about it, they should claim him. This is a first-round talent for a reason. I don't know if he'll ever be a first-round level player, but I will tell you this right now. I feel like he can, and a change of scenery would do wonders for him. And sure enough, a change of scenery has done wonders for him. And clearly, this coaching staff thinks he's really good. So I'm excited to see him. I'm a big fan of his, so love it. Micah, thank you for the 5. Which 4 players do you think will be protected from being claimed on our practice squad? Great question. I'm going to go with this. If Chris Paul Jr. somehow does get through waivers, obviously he'll be protected. I'm going to say, because the way the NFL works, a lot of offensive linemen go down with injuries. I'm going to say Wyatt Bowles for sure. I think that's probably the top offensive lineman that will be on the practice squad. So I'll say Wyatt Bowles. I'll say AJ Green if he does clear waivers. I'll say Brennan Jackson. And I'll probably say Brennan Presley if he makes it through waivers. Yeah, I like that. That's a great question. Thank you, Micah. Really smart stuff there. Zaylor, thank you for the 5. Any mid-season trades that will help us win the Super Bowl? Currently, nothing off the top of my head. I don't have a damn thing. Micah Parsons obviously gets brought up, but I don't think they need to make a trade. I think they're ready to win the Super Bowl now. I don't like some of the decisions they made, but I still think that this roster is really good. Stoops, thanks, Sailor. Appreciate you. Yeah, I'm really excited. So let's talk about the things I really do like about this new roster, right? And yeah, okay. So now I can actually see it. It's a clean roster. I like that they kept Stetson Bennett. You've put 3 years into him, developing him. I just think it would have been a total mistake to cut him. And that's why I always said he was a lock. I never really bought into he might not make the roster, even before he wasn't going to play in the last preseason game. Stetson Bennett has done enough to show you that you're not wasting time developing him. He's not going to be your franchise quarterback in all likelihood, but he could be QB2 next year. He could be QB2 for the long haul. I just think you put 3 years into him. You had his back through a tough time where he didn't even want to report to the team, and I get it. He was going through a lot of personal issues. He's recovered. He's battled back. You can't kill him. He doesn't go away. I like that they kept him, truthfully. And he made a fan out of me again. I was kind of out on him last year. Wanted to go after Bryce Perkins, wanted to, draft Jalen Milroe, wanted to draft Shedeur Sanders. I was ready to move on from him, but I thought he had a really good preseason and definitely deserves to be kept. I like that they only kept 3 running backs. It's a tough decision. They have a lot of good running backs. I know they love working with Ronnie Rivers, Cody Schrader. I think he's a good player. And I like Jordan Waters. This is the right move. You just need these 3. You're going to be able to practice squad at least one of the guys, so you'll be good. But I think these 3, this is the right move. Make no mistake about it, to have 3 running backs. The roster, I just don't think you can keep 4 or 5 like they used to back in the day. Not with today's, because here's the thing. There's a lot more sub-package play than in the past. So now we're seeing a lot more dime. The Rams are using a lot more dime, a lot more nickel. And so now you need to have that accommodated for, right? And so that's a big reason why, at certain positions like running back, you can't keep 4 or 5. Wide receiver, love the wide receiver room. Would have liked to see them keep Presley. Hopefully he doesn't get cut or he doesn't get claimed. But I love it because Davante Adams is a true X receiver. You haven't had anybody like Davante Adams in quite some time. I'd say the best thing you had on the outside to Davante Adams, as far as back shoulder fades in the end zone, all that, the athleticism, is Torrey Holt. This is the best true X receiver you've had since Torrey Holt. That's what I feel. So, love having Davante Adams. Then you have Puka Nacua, obviously. They have 2 top 10 receivers, arguably even top 5 when they're both fully healthy and ready to go. Jordan Whittington, big year for him. Didn't play a lick of preseason because they love this guy. And then there was some dumb rumor out there that the Vikings liked him. The Vikings can like whoever the hell they want, but the Rams aren't going to just trade him, So, love Jordan Whittington. Atwell was a shock to me when they signed him, but it was a good shock because I like Atwell, and I believe that speed matters, but I also believe that he's not just like your stereotypical speedy 5'8" receiver. He can go up and high point the football. He's got strong hands. He's reliable. He can block. It's weird, but he can. So love that. Xavier Smith had a whale of a preseason. Really happy he got, he made this team. Konate Mumfield, I was a little surprised, and then I started hearing things again, and it was like, it went back and forth. I think at one point, his spot was a little bit in jeopardy, but I really liked, what I saw just in like the practices and whatnot in some of those videos. And, clearly he's able to create separation, but the big thing about Konate is that he can block, and that's what kept him on this roster. Then you look at tight end, right? And I really like the tight end room. You got Higbee, you got Ferguson, you got Parkinson, and you got Allen. Watching what Ferguson was doing, and it was only 2 catches, but 2 catches against the Browns, the 33-yard explosive play. That was a breath of fresh air to watch. You can clearly see he has a future with this team, and they're going to have a role for him. So I'm excited for that. I like that they kept Allen. I understand, some people are probably over him. He had a back issue last year. I don't think it's really fair to kind of like write him off. And then same thing with Parkinson. Like he had a bad year last year. It was underwhelming, but Parkinson can still block. He can still help this team. He can still catch touchdowns. I think it's a really well-structured tight end room. They have a little bit of everything in there. They have guys that can be flexed out. They have guys that can block. They have guys that can be a problem in the red zone. They have guys that can make guys miss in space. Higbee and Ferguson are your guys where, obviously Higbee's the best tight end by far in this room. Way beyond everybody. Really good blocker, really good receiver. If he got the targets, he could be like a close to 1,000-yard receiver. I don't think people realize that. He is that talented. It's just there's too many mouths to feed. He's never going to have any numbers like that. But this could be a good year for him. Like I'm talking maybe 600, 700 yards. I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm not saying he has to have that, but I wouldn't be surprised again. So you have all of that. Then the offensive line. I really like their starting 5. I like that Alaric, they stuck by him. He's ready to go. I like their tackle depth. Some people are going to say they don't have enough interior line depth. They only have 2 backups in the interior, and they kept 5 tackles. And I understand, it is what it is, but I think this is smart. I think tackles are everything. The Rams constantly have injuries at tackle. Havenstein plays through them, but Warren McClendon Jr. is a guy who's been in this program for a minute now. They really like him. DJ Humphries has started a lot of games in this league. He's a former Pro Bowler. Justin Diedick, David Quessenberry is another guy that started a lot of games. So a lot of veteran presence, a lot of, it's well built on the outside. And then Bo Limmer and Justin Diedick come back and you get to work with them again. And they did a really nice job last year. And unfortunately for Bo Limmer, I think it really all comes down to that play. If that play doesn't happen and the Rams throw a touchdown instead of, Jalen Carter, ripping through, I don't think Bo Limmer loses his starting job, but that's just the reality of it. What did I like about the defense? The outside linebackers only keeping 4. I would have only just kept 3. I didn't exactly understand keeping Nick Hampton. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I'm thinking this is a guy that probably wouldn't have been claimed and could have been added to the practice squad. And I would just rather add some guys outside of, the house at this point. If you're going to cut Brennan Jackson, I just think Byron Young, Keir Thomas going down for the year is just absolutely brutal. I understand not a lot of people, were really high on him. I don't think they quite realized how much the Rams liked him, and he was a guarantee to make this roster. So when he went down with that injury, that was really unfortunate for more than one reason. But Jared Verse, Byron Young, Josiah Stewart is going to be a nice 3-headed monster tandem there. I think I would have just kept those guys, and I would have just claimed somebody off of waivers. So there's that. Then you have the defensive line. I'm a little dumbfounded they kept 7. I'm just really glad they kept Desjuan Johnson. That was my biggest focus. You can't let that guy go. You've done a really nice job developing him, and he's just somebody, he gets it. He continues to get better. I think it would have been a total mistake if you pulled the plug on Desjuan Johnson. So I'm glad they kept him. Inside linebackers, I absolutely can't stand that they cut Chris Paul Jr., but I love that they kept Sean Dolak. I really do. I think Dolak is going to be a big-time player. Reminds me so much of Matt Milano. So, while we can sit here and be negative about Chris Paul Jr., and trust me, I'm very negative about it, I want to at least give credit where credit's due to keeping Sean Dolak. And Sean Dolak, give him credit for working his ass off to get to this point, because he was a guy from Buffalo that went undrafted and he wasn't getting reps with the starters. And then at the end of training camp, at the end of preseason practices, he's getting first team reps now. So, it's a testament to how hard he's worked, and, he stayed healthy too. That's a big thing. Chris Paul was, banged up a bit in the Chargers game, and, there's been points to, people have pointed to the idea like he's had some lingering injuries. I don't know that to be sure. I just know that he was banged up in the Chargers game. But, Sean Dolak, he stayed healthy. He got the green dot. He understood the defense. I love that they kept him, truthfully. If they cut them both, I would have been absolutely livid. If they only kept 3 linebackers, and it was Spates, Landman, and Reeder, would have hated that. But I think Landman's going to have a huge year. I'm very excited for him. Corners. I'm bummed they didn't keep AJ Green, but I love that they're going to go with Emmanuel Forbes and Akello. The most talented cornerbacks on this team are Akello Witherspoon and Emmanuel Forbes Jr. Okay? Emmanuel Forbes Jr., if he figured it out, the Rams are going to be disgusting on the outside. It's going to be hard to throw against them. You got a lot of length on the outside. You got some ball hawks. Obviously, we know Emmanuel Forbes, what he can do, going back to his days in college. But I really like it. I like the versatility. I love keeping Josh Wallace. I'm going to tell you right now, and I tweeted this out, so if you guys didn't see it on Twitter, you're going to hear it. Everything I've heard about Josh Wallace is this guy can be a star. This guy can be an all-pro. This guy can be special. They love Josh Wallace. Josh Wallace just gets it. He just gets it. And I think he's going to be very surprising. Very surprising. Some people are not going to see it coming. But I'm telling you right now, watch number 30. See, we're used to 30 on the Rams, not in this uniform, but 30 on the Rams being Todd Gurley's number. Well, luckily, Josh Wallace is repping 30 the right way, because he's a really good player. And I'm excited to see how things work out. Now, as far as the guys that didn't suit up against the Browns in preseason, all of them made the team except for AJ Green, who didn't suit up because of an injury. So this is something we can write down for the future. They clearly care about this. So if a guy isn't playing at all in week 3, we have to assume he's likely made the team. So there's that. Let's see here. We got some more supers, so appreciate you. Now that the roster's done, who are the captains? Well, I would just assume off the top of my head, I know 4 of them. Kobe Turner, obviously Matthew Stafford, Quentin Lake, Rob Havenstein, and then that 5th one, it's up for grabs. Maybe I don't. You might be able to go with 6. I think it's just 5, but the 5th one is that a special teams captain. If it is, maybe Sean Dolak, right? If it's not, maybe Tyler Higbee. I would love to see Akello, because I'll tell you right now, that dude is doing a lot behind the scenes that you do not know about. Because, I mean, he just wants to win, and he wants to help the guys out. As long as they're part of the team, he wants to help them win, right? Like, we already saw the social media post last year by the Rams. He took Emmanuel Forbes under his wing. Like, he just wants to win. He was rocking the AJ Green jersey to the first preseason game. He's a leader, man. That is a captain. But if I had to guess, man, I could see Nate Landman, if I'm being honest, because I know linebacker captains, that goes with the territory. Yeah, Turner, Lake, Stafford, Havenstein. So you got 2 and 2. I'm going to say it's either Landman or Higbee. No, Adams. I could see Adams. I could see Davante Adams. Yeah, I'm going to go with Davante Adams because, I mean, think about this, right? This is a team that's ready to win the Super Bowl. The guys I just mentioned, captains, they're veterans. I mean, Quentin Lake is in his last year of his rookie deal. Stafford, really? We don't need to even get into that. 37-year-old. Won a Super Bowl with this team. Rob Havenstein's the longest tenured Ram. So I could see Higbee. And Kobe Turner has turned himself, because he's just way beyond his years. He operates like a veteran. So I'm going to say it's Davante Adams, but if it's not him, it's Higbee or Landman. That's what I think. I hope it's Akello, though. It'd be nice to see that C on his chest, because he's doing a lot. Like I said, he's doing a lot of stuff, behind the scenes that doesn't get talked about. I mean, there was an article about him being Yoda, right? There you go. So we'll see, but this roster kicks ass. There are a few things I don't like, and the ones I don't like, I really don't like not having CPJ, but no, it's a really good roster. You should feel very good about the way the Rams look right now. And we'll just have to wait. Tomorrow I'll be on here. Tomorrow we'll I think we don't have to wait till 4, right? When can NFL teams sign practice squad? Is it tell me it's not 4. No, it's noon. Wait, hold on. Yes, it's noon. Okay. So it's 4 today. It's noon tomorrow. So we'll go live around noon and we'll break down the practice squad. How about that? And potentially, I don't want to make any promises here. But last year, the Rams had their 53, and then they claimed Cody Schrader. The 49ers cut him. and the Rams claimed him off waivers, and he made the 53. So the 53 isn't a guarantee right now. I feel good that this is the 53, but we could see another cut. We could see another player added. Not really sure. There might be a video later tonight at some point kind of telling you, okay, like these are some players I think the Rams should go after that were cut today that probably shouldn't have been cut. Something like that. Get you ready. But yeah, we got some more supers here. This is a great question, by the way, Vic. Appreciate you. Cano, thank you for the 2. Wow. Trusting McSneed as always. Thanks, Jake. You're very welcome. Thank you. Sanj, thank you for the 2. Maybe Pooh messed up elsewhere, i.e. Ernest Jones. I don't see it. I don't see it. That dude is one of the hardest workers on this team. Everything I heard about him was just positivity, and he's so freaking smart. Go watch his interview with Brett Coleman, and tell me that dude isn't intelligent. He just gets it. He's just a really smart football player. That you don't cut guys like that. So we'll see. Angel, appreciate you. For the 2, is Chris Paul Jr. 100% gone? You still tickets? I got all my tickets. I'm going to 3 Rams games. I got Rams 49ers, Rams 49ers. Yes, SoFi and San Francisco. And then I'm seeing the Rams and Lions. My father's joining me with that one. Can't wait to meet you guys and see some of you again. We'll figure it out. I don't know if we'll do like a full-on meet and greet, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for sure. Chris Paul Jr. is 100% gone for now. It doesn't mean like they can't add him to the practice squad. It's just, I just want to be a realist here. I don't think he's going to clear waivers. I don't. I don't think he's going to clear waivers. It's just, yeah, it's frustrating. I'm going to ask Grok, the Twitter AI. I want to know what Grok would say. Grok says it's unlikely he's going to clear waivers. His draft status, college production, and positional versatility makes him a prime candidate for another team to claim, especially with those higher waiver priority looking to bolster their linebacker core. While the calf injury might give some teams pause, his upside as a young, athletic defender likely outweighs the risk for a team willing to develop him. If no team claims him, the Rams could re-sign him to the practice squad, but the sentiment from fans and analysts leans towards another team picking him up. I hate that. I always make this joke. I was feeling too good about I was clearly just feeling too good about the Rams. They had to do something to kind of balance out, right? You can't feel like every move is great, otherwise then you start to sound like a homer. So, this is their balancing act for me. Maybe I needed this to show you that I can still criticize the Rams. Because I had somebody tell me that I was super biased with the Rams, and I think everybody is great. No, I don't. I'll get DMs from like parents of players and be like, you know, hey, why did you say this or whatever. So I still get it, right? Like I still get that stuff. John, thank you so much for the 10. Really appreciate you. Means a lot, my friend. That's actually hilarious. That is, I love this so much. I'm sorry. And you guys know me. I hate AI, but it's a tool. It's like analytics. If you use analytics as a tool, it can be really useful. But if you use analytics as the end all be all, that's when you get into trouble. If you use AI as a tool, it can be useful. But if all you do is use AI, it can get you into trouble. So, but no, I thought that was hilarious. I make Grok jokes all the time. It's so funny. If everyone is so high on Paul, what did the Rams not see? Well, I'll tell you this, and I'll be very honest with you. Chris Paul Jr. makes last year's roster, the year before that, the year before that. This is the best roster the Rams have had in recent memory. I am not going to walk that back. That is why he didn't make the team. Like, the Rams didn't just cut him saying they don't want him. And let's make that very clear. Chris Paul Jr. was probably the 54th man. Right? So, unfortunately, that doesn't mean anything if you have to keep 53. If there were 55 men on a roster, Chris Paul Jr. makes this team. I don't believe that they didn't like him. And I don't believe that they soured on him. I believe that it was a tough call. And for whatever reason, and I disagree with it, but they're the people that see these guys every day. They believed Troy Reeder, keeping him, was the better option. So in turn, while we all kind of just assumed, and I'm one of those people, we assumed that Chris Paul Jr. was essentially going to be a lock to make this team. We never, ever assumed he'd get cut. And it kind of goes to show you guys I wasn't crazy to say like Konate Mumfield could get cut because now they're cutting draft picks. But anyway, it wasn't that, like the whole time I just assumed that he was a lock, and I think a lot of people did. The reality was this entire time, he was going up against Sean Dolak. Like, Sean Dolak earned the job over him. Troy Reeder was already a lock to make the roster. We just never really bought into it. So, yeah, I don't know. I think he's going to get claimed. I think he gets claimed by, let's see. I want to look right now. I'm going to look right now and tell you exactly what team's going to claim him. I can't help but feel like the 49ers are going to, but they have a lot of linebackers, so I don't know if they will. I mean, Seattle. I think Seattle could. I think the Niners could. What do the Arizona Cardinals look like? They have a lot of linebackers too. I think they could. Man, I'm not happy about that. I don't want it to ruin the whole day. And that's true. Justin Diedick did take a spot. Yeah, you're right. And sometimes that's how it is. Saints are going to claim him. Oh, God. Yeah, they saw him too. Yeah, I mean, I could see it. They have a lot of guys there, but I could see it. And by a lot of guys, I mean they have names. I'm not saying that they're big names. If he goes to the Lions, I'm going to be so mad. That would piss me off. Yeah, I mean, I'm almost as annoyed as when they traded a 4th rounder next year to trade up and get Ty Hamilton. I thought that was ridiculous. And when people were saying they were going to cut him, I was like, they better not. So, yeah. But again, I can't stress this enough. I don't hate Troy Reeder like everyone else. I actually like the guy, but I also understand what he is. He's a depth piece. He's a veteran depth piece. This is not a guy that you keep over guys like CPJ, over Sean Dolak. I don't agree with it at all. I don't agree with it at all. So, yeah, all in all, I think the Rams, nothing changed. I still think the Rams go 13-4 this year. I think they got a fantastic roster. I think they're ready to win the Super Bowl. And that's that. So if you guys enjoyed this, please hit the like button. It really does help me out. And we're getting closer. We're Puka Nacua days away from the NFL season. So at least that's what I just read. So really excited. Really excited for the season. Excited for this channel. Excited for you guys. We're just continuing to grow. And we're growing slowly but surely during the off season. But man, during the season, it's going to be wild. I mean, like I said, you know, we're at 31.2K subscribers. So I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, I think in conclusion though, the CPJ cut really bothers me. I really like the roster aside from that. So I don't want to just keep rambling, but those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments section below after this video what you guys think about this roster, right? So yeah, that's going to do it. You guys take care, and I'll see y'all soon. Later, folks.